back. It's a new day. In the last video, I finished up digging the footers for the foundation of the first dome that we're installing. Back over here. So today, I need to get prepped for the concrete pour. So actually putting in the piers into those holes. I'm still waiting on the Bigfoots, the bottom portion of the concrete pier. I have the cardboard tube that goes up the top of the sonotube, but I don't have the flared base yet, the plastic piece. I'll get those by next weekend. But for now, today I'm working on building these rebar cages. So this is number 4 rebar, so it's about a 1/2 inch. And this is a galvanized steel 14 gauge welded wire mesh. And I've just wrapped that into a circle, kind of tied it into itself, and tied the rebar in. And those are going to be inserted into an 8-inch wide sonotube. And I think that'll be way overkill for what we have and the weight that we're going to put on it. But I want to just have peace of mind with this stuff. So I built 6 of them. We need 11. So I'm going to show you how I built them, and I'll build the last 5 before I leave today. You don't need too many tools for this. I'm not an expert in it, but I figured I'd show you at least what I'm using. Tape measure, Sharpie, some cutters, and some pliers. Probably better to have like fat lineman pliers. I'm just using these bent needle nose ones. It seems to work fine. I'm actually using my hands more than anything to bend the wire. I also have these standard rebar ties, and the welded wire mesh just comes in a 50-foot roll. I have it sitting off to the side. Let me grab it. So this is 50 feet of welded wire mesh, predominantly just used for fencing. So yeah, all the tools I mentioned: welded wire mesh and number 4 rebar. I bought everything in 4-foot lengths. It's a little bit more expensive to buy it pre-cut like that, but just saves time, so I figured it was worth it. Maybe on the next one I'll try and save a bit more money, but this is the way we did it this time. So this is a 4-foot length of welded wire mesh, so all I have to do is cut off a section of the fence, kind of bend it into a rough circle, and I'm using the end of the fence, these little wires that stick off. It's just 14 gauge steel, so it's pretty easy to bend. And I'm using that to wrap it into itself so it retains that circle shape. And then I'll come back with these rebar ties to tie in the rebar, and then after that the cage will be ready to go. What I've been doing is measuring out from this point where my finger is, here, 18 inches over, it's stuck, to here. And I'll just cut this lengthwise, and it already kind of wants to bend back into a circle. So I'll just kind of sculpt it back into that circle, and I'll use these little pieces up here of wire. These bend pretty easy, so I'll use that to kind of tie it into the other side. I'm just using these side cutters to cut it. There's probably a better tool out there, but this seems to work fine. So I'll kind of just squish it back together until it looks like a circle again. So once I get it back into this kind of rough circle position, kind of the same that ships in, I'm going to take these extra wires that are sticking out the front and I'll wrap it over around this other side to secure it into position. So at this point it's a pretty, circular column. So I'll add a rebar stick, one on each side, inside of the welded wire, and I'll tie it off with the rebar ties I showed you earlier. And that'll give us that lateral stability that the concrete won't provide. When I was working on these yesterday, I was adding the rebar in sideways, like against my tailgate. But I'm realizing it's probably easier just to do it straight up and down. They're both the same length, 4 feet, so probably easier just to do it standing up. So I'm adding the rebar to the inside of the cage just so it doesn't get any wider. We're only doing a 8-inch sonotube, so this is about a 5-inch cage. So I don't want the metal right on the edge of the concrete, otherwise it might break out because it gets too thin. So I'm using 3 rebar ties per piece of rebar. No particular reason behind that, it just seems like a good enough amount to keep it solid. These are pretty easy, also pretty self-explanatory to put on. You just kind of put them in and tie it off. This is where you rebar guys are gonna make fun of me in the comments, but I'm not doing very many of these. I don't have to be very good. So just taking these needle nose pliers and just wrapping it around. Seems to be doing fine, so I know I'm not going that fast, but that doesn't really matter. I don't need to be rushing anything out here. I'm not here to relax. I'm actually on vacation right now, so believe it or not, I'm taking vacation days from my day job, so I'm not trying to be stressed out about getting this done as fast as possible. It's just So that's what the finished product looks like. Pretty simple, just a couple wire bends, and we have a pretty solid rebar cage. I think this will be way more than enough for the 8-inch concrete pier.